What Humans Do Best, Part 1. The mockery begins. The void of space trembled as reality itself seemed to tear open at the edge of the solar system. Through the dimensional rift emerged a sight that would have terrified any species in the galaxy: the war fleet of the Korthok Empire. 500 vessels of varying sizes poured through the portal like metal locusts, their crystalline hulls catching and reflecting the distant light of Sol Dot. At the center of this armada floated the Void Crusher, a monument to alien engineering and conquest. The flagship stretched 500 kilometers from bow to stern, its surface bristling with weapon arrays that could crack moons and boil oceans. Geometric patterns covered its hull, each line carved from the bones of worlds that had dared to resist the Korthok advance. Commander Zixtaler stood in the command chamber of the Void Crusher, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the blue light of the tactical displays. Like all Korthak, he resembled a walking cathedral of living crystal, his body formed from the same materials that made their ships nearly indestructible. His 4 arms moved gracefully as he studied the primitive world before them, and his multifaceted eyes gleamed with the satisfaction of an apex predator. The Korthok Empire had swept across 47 star systems in the past 2 centuries, each conquest easier than the last. They were the heirs to technologies that these humans could barely comprehend, while the inhabitants of this backwater world still struggled with crude chemical rockets. The Korthok had mastered dimensional travel, matter manipulation, and energy weapons that could rewrite the fundamental forces of physics. "Status report," Zixtaler commanded, his voice resonating through the crystal formations that served as the ship's communication system. Subcommander Velthar, a younger Korthok with deep purple crystal formations along his arms, consulted the tactical readouts. "My lord, preliminary scans confirm our intelligence. The 3rd planet supports approximately 8 billion humanoids. Their technology level is ... primitive, chemical combustion for energy, metal projectiles for weapons, crude, electromagnetic communications." Zixtaler's crystalline face formed what might have been considered a smile in other species. "And their defense capabilities? Laughable, my lord. They have perhaps a dozen orbital platforms armed with primitive kinetic weapons, maybe 30. Ships that could generously be called warships, though our smallest fighters outgun their largest vessels. Their most advanced weapon appears to be a chemical explosive device that releases electromagnetic pulses." The bridge erupted in the harmonic laughter characteristic of the Korthok species. The sound resembled wind chimes caught in a hurricane, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. These humans had nuclear weapons, technology the Korthak had abandoned as obsolete 3,000 years ago. "My lord," another officer reported, "we're receiving transmissions from the planet. Multiple languages, but our translation matrices are processing them. They appear to be ... diplomatic overtures." "Diplomatic?" Zixtaler's amusement grew. "They wish to negotiate. What could these barely evolved mammals possibly offer us?" He gestured to the displays showing Earth's meager defenses. "Show me." The main viewer shifted to display dozens of human broadcasts streaming toward the Korthok fleet. Political leaders, military commanders, and scientists all pleading for peaceful contact. The messages spoke of cooperation, cultural exchange, and mutual benefit. One transmission showed an elderly human male with white hair speaking earnestly about the wonders both species could achieve together. The Korthok officers' laughter intensified. Velthar shook his crystalline head in amazement. "They truly believe They have something we want beyond their servitude. Perhaps they think their primitive music and literature will fascinate us. Another officer suggested, causing fresh waves of amusement. Zixtaler raised one of his 4 arms for silence. Enough. These creatures will learn, as all others have, that the strong take what they wish from the weak. Prepare the standard conquest protocol. We will give them 24 of their planetary rotations to evacuate their major population centers. Those who comply will be processed for labor assignments. Those who resist will be ... eliminated. As the command went out across the fleet, none of the Korthak noticed the single small craft that had appeared at the edge of their sensor range. The human vessel was so insignificant that the automated defense systems didn't even register it. As a potential threat, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Persistence, watching the alien armada through the main view screen. At 53 years old, she had never expected to command a warship. Her background was in mining engineering, specifically the dangerous job of extracting rare metals from asteroids in the outer system. She had volunteered for this mission, not because she was a warrior, but because someone had to, and her experience with experimental mining equipment made her uniquely qualified to operate humanity's most desperate gambit. The Persistence was not an impressive sight. At 800 meters long, it was built from repurposed mining equipment, civilian habitat modules, and whatever military hardware Earth could spare. Its hull was a patchwork of different alloys, showing the burns and impacts of countless asteroid mining operations. To any observer, it looked like exactly what it was, a converted industrial vessel held together by determination and welding compound. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb from the communications station. "We're receiving a response from the alien flagship." Sarah nodded grimly. "Put it through." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking into what appeared to be a cathedral made of living crystal. The alien commander filled the frame, his crystalline form both beautiful and terrifying. When he spoke, the ship's computer provided a translation in a mechanical voice that somehow still conveyed his arrogance. "Primitive humans," Zixtaler-esque translated voice filled the bridge. "I am Commander Zixtaler of the Korthok Empire. Your species has 24 standard time units to evacuate your major population centers. Those who comply will be assigned work details appropriate to your capabilities. Those who resist will be eliminated. This is not a negotiation. This is an inevitability." Sarah stepped forward, her mining engineer's pragmatism showing in her steady voice. "Commander, I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Persistence. We've heard your terms, and we respectfully decline." The alien's multifaceted eyes focused on her, and she could hear what sounded like crystal formations resonating with amusement. "Captain Chen, do you not understand the mathematics of your situation? My flagship alone carries more firepower than your entire species has ever created. Our smallest escort vessel could reduce your primitive craft to its component atoms." "Understand perfectly," Sarah replied. "But you seem to misunderstand something about humans. We don't give up just because the odds are bad." Zixtaler's amusement was clearly audible now. "Your courage is ... quaint, but courage does not stop plasma cannons or dimensional torpedoes. You have one opportunity to avoid unnecessary suffering. Order your fleet to stand down and your planet to prepare for occupation." "Our fleet," Sarah almost smiled. "Commander, you're looking at it." The silence that followed was profound. On the Korthok flagship, officers exchanged glances of disbelief. Velthor consulted his sensors again, certain there must be some mistake. "Captain Chen," Zixtaler said slowly, You cannot seriously suggest that your single, primitive vessel intends to engage our entire battle fleet. That's exactly what I'm suggesting, Sarah replied. But I want you to understand something first. We know what you've done to the other worlds you've conquered. We've seen the reports from the survivors who escaped. We know about the labor camps, the executions, the way you treat other species like disposable resources. Her voice hardened. So here's our counteroffer. Turn around, leave our system, find somewhere else to flex your imperial muscles. Because if you try to take Earth, you're going to learn something about human beings that you really should have researched more carefully. The crystal formations on Zixthala's face shifted into what was unmistakably a sneer. And what lesson would that be, Captain? Sarah's smile was not pleasant. That we're really, really good at making do with less. The transmission ended, leaving the Korthok bridge in stunned silence. Finally, Belthor spoke. My lord, shall I power weapons? We could destroy their ship. In seconds, Zixthala considered this. The humans' defiance was irritating, but it could serve a purpose. The destruction of their only defender would demoralize the planet's population and make the conquest easier. No, he decided. Let them make their futile gesture. When their weapons prove ineffective against our shields, their planet will understand. The futility of resistance. Power shields to minimum settings. I want our sensors to record every detail of their desperation for the archives. Across the fleet, the message went out. The humans were making a stand with a single converted mining ship against 500 Korthok warships. It would be a massacre so one-sided that it barely qualified as a battle. On the Persistence, Sarah turned to her crew. They were not soldiers, they were engineers, miners, scientists, and technicians who had volunteered for what everyone assumed was a suicide mission. But they were also human, and that meant something the Korthok Empire was about to learn. All stations, prepare for combat, Sarah ordered. Dr. Martinez, initiate Phase 1 of the Morrison Protocol. In the ship's modified mining bay, Dr. Alina Martinez began powering up equipment that the Korthok would not recognize. It was based on technology developed for asteroid mining specifically, for mining asteroids that were so dense and unstable that conventional equipment would be destroyed by the gravitational stresses involved. Humanity had learned to mine by existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, allowing them to phase through solid matter while their equipment operated in normal space. It was technology born of necessity, refined by desperation, and about to be weaponized by the same species that had once convinced itself it could fly by strapping rockets to everything. Phase generators online, Dr. Martinez reported. All quantum field modulators are green. We're ready to show them what human ingenuity looks like. Sarah nodded, watching as the Korthok fleet began moving into attack formation. 500 ships, each one capable of destroying entire cities, moving with the precision of a species that had never known defeat. Let them come, she said quietly. Time to teach the galaxy's apex predators why you should never underestimate the crazy apes from the third rock from the sun. The Persistence held its position, 800 meters of converted mining equipment facing down an armada that could have conquered star systems. But Captain Sarah Chen had spent her career extracting precious metals from places where physics said it was impossible. She was very good at making impossible things work, and the Korthok Empire was about to find out that humans had turned impossible into an art form. The revelation and victory the Korthok attack began with the casual precision of a species that had perfected the art of conquest. Commander Zixtella gave the order with barely a thought, expecting to watch the primitive human vessel vaporize under the combined fire of his escort ships. "Frigate squadrons, demonstrate our superiority," he commanded. "Destroy the human ship with minimal energy expenditure. I want the planet to witness their protector's destruction." 12 Korthok frigates, each one 3 times the size of the Persistence, powered their weapons arrays. Plasma cannons that could melt through planetary crusts, charged with energies that made stars seem dim. Dimensional torpedoes, weapons that could erase matter from existence itself, prepared to launch. On the bridge of the Persistence, alarms wailed as the ship's primitive sensors detected the massive energy buildup. Lieutenant Commander Webb's face was pale as he reported the incoming threat. "Captain, we're reading power levels that are off our scale. Those energy signatures are beyond anything we've ever encountered." Sarah Chen stood calmly at the center of the chaos, her mining engineer's mind calculating trajectories and timing with the same precision she had once used. To extract platinum from asteroid cores that could collapse into black holes if handled incorrectly. "Dr. Martinez," she said, without taking her eyes off the approaching enemy, "initiate phase shift. All hands, brace for dimensional transition." "Phase shift initiated," came the reply from the mining bay. "Warning, we're entering uncharted territory here, Captain. We've never tried to maintain phase coherence under direct weapons fire." The first volley from the Korthok frigates lit up space like a newborn star. Plasma bolts that could have boiled Earth's oceans struck the Persistence dead center, followed by dimensional torpedoes that should have erased the ship from reality itself. The Korthok officers watched their sensors, expecting to see the satisfying the bloom of a ship's destruction. Instead, they saw something that made their crystalline forms resonate with confusion. The weapons had passed completely through the human ship as if it wasn't there. "Sensor malfunction?" Velthor suggested, his voice uncertain for the first time since the battle began. "Check all systems," Zixtella ordered, his multifaceted eyes narrowing. "Fire again. Full power." The second volley was even more devastating than the first. Every frigate in the squadron unleashed everything they had, turning the space around the Persistence into a maelstrom of destructive energy that could have cracked a moon. Again, every shot passed harmlessly through the human vessel. On the Persistence, Sarah felt the strange sensation of existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. It was like being underwater while remaining dry, like moving through solid rock while breathing normal air. The phase generators were working perfectly, allowing the ship to exist primarily in parallel dimensions while maintaining just enough presence in normal space to observe and communicate. "Weapon status?" she asked. "All guns operational, Captain," reported Chief Gunner Patricia Santos, a former asteroid miner who had learned to thread projectiles through gravitational fields that could tear apart conventional matter. "Standard kinetic rounds loaded and ready." Sarah almost smiled. The Korthok had energy shields, exotic matter armor, and weapons that could rewrite physics. The Persistence had bullets. Very precisely aimed bullets fired by people who had spent their careers making impossible shots in impossible conditions. "Target the lead frigate's weapon array," Sarah ordered. "Fire when ready." The Persistence's main gun was a railgun, designed for launching mining charges into asteroid cores. It fired a solid tungsten penetrator at a significant fraction of the speed of light. Against the Korthok frigate's energy shields, it should have been like throwing pebbles at a starship, but the round punched through the alien vessel's defenses as if they weren't there. tearing through crystalline armor and detonating the ship's primary plasma conduits. The frigate's forward section erupted in a chain reaction that lit up space for thousands of kilometers. The Korthok bridge fell silent except for the harmonic resonance of shocked crystal formations. "How?" Velthor whispered. "They're projectile. Weapons are primitive. Our shields should have stopped it completely." Zixtaler studied the tactical display, his brilliant mind racing through possibilities. The human ship was somehow existing in a state where Korthok weapons couldn't touch it, but its own weapons remained effective. It was impossible by every law of physics he understood. All ships, he commanded, focused fire on the human vessel. Maximum power. If one shot passed through, perhaps 1,000 will not. The space around the Persistence became a light show that could be seen from Earth with the naked eye. The combined firepower of 200 Korthok warships converged on a single point, enough energy to destroy entire continents. Every shot passed through the human ship like light through a window. "Captain," Dr. Martinez's voice came over the com with barely contained excitement. "The phase generators are holding perfectly. Whatever they're using for sensors, it can't lock onto us while we're dimensional shifting. We're essentially ghosts." To them, Sarah nodded, watching as the Persistence continued its steady approach toward the Korthok flagship. Her ship was taking no damage, but the enemy's weapons fire was starting to interfere with each other. Several Korthok vessels had been damaged by friendly fire as their targeting systems tried to track a ship that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "How is this possible?" Zixtaler demanded of his science officers. "No species has ever developed dimensional phasing technology. It's theoretically impossible to maintain cohesion across multiple quantum states." His chief scientist, a elderly Korthok whose crystal formations had turned deep blue with age, consulted the readings with growing amazement. "My lord, they appear to be using some form of quantum field manipulation. But their approach is ... crude, brute force. They're not maintaining dimensional cohesion through elegant field manipulation. They're simply powering through the quantum barriers with massive energy expenditure. Explain." "It's like, imagine trying to cut through a crystalline formation with sophisticated laser technology versus simply hitting it with a very large hammer until it shatters. Both methods work, but one requires understanding while the other requires determination." Zixtaler's expression darkened. "Are you suggesting that these primitives achieved through stubbornness what our greatest scientists declared impossible?" "Captain Chen," he said slowly, "I confess that we ... underestimated your species. Your technology is unlike anything we have encountered in 2 centuries of conquest." Sarah leaned back in her captain's chair, every inch the image of a victorious commander despite wearing a mining engineer's jumpsuit. "Commander, our technology is exactly what we told you it was. We're really good at making do with less. The equipment that just defeated your fleet was designed to extract rare metals from asteroids that could kill us if we made a single mistake." She paused, letting that sink in. "We turned mining equipment into weapons, not because we're warriors, but because someone had to, and we were the ones who knew how to make impossible things work." Zixtaler's multifaceted eyes studied her carefully. "What are your terms for our surrender?" "Simple. Leave our system, don't come back, and spread the word to anyone else who might be thinking about conquering Earth. We might not have the biggest ships or the most advanced weapons, but we have something your empire never learned, which is..." Sarah's smile was fierce with pride. "We know that impossible just means nobody's figured out how to do it yet, and humans are very, very good at figuring things out. The transmission ended. Within hours, the Korthok fleet had withdrawn to the edge of the solar system and departed through their dimensional portal. The news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy faster than the Korthok ships could travel. For the first time in galactic history, a single ship had defeated an entire Korthok battle fleet. But more importantly, word spread about the species that had achieved dimensional phasing technology, not through elegant scientific theory, but through the simple determination to make it work. The galaxy took notice. Earth was no longer a primitive backwater to be conquered at will. It was the home of the crazy apes who could turn mining equipment into weapons that could defeat the most advanced military technology known to science. And in the command center of the Persistence, Captain Sarah Chen looked out at the stars and wondered what impossible thing humanity would have to figure out next. Because she was certain of one thing: the universe was full of impossible things, and humans had only just begun to show what they could do, when impossible was the only option left. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun, not with conquest or diplomacy, but with the most human solution of all, taking something that shouldn't work and making it work anyway through sheer determination and engineering. Stubbornness. The stars would never be the same. Asterisk.